Don't you let go.
I swear I hit unmute the mic. I swear. Twice. And I even started going into stuff. All right. My bad. Here we are. So any of you that have seen some of my other videos know that that's an intro from a previous video I did with assistance from the great Perry Chan. I appreciate him more than I can say. I appreciate all of you guys more than I can say. But that intro is very fitting. If any of you have been paying attention, there is the lordoftherings.com and there is the lordoftherings.net. So Torque and Torn. And of course, Torn is the one who has been shilling for Amazon. They were begging Amazon execs and Amazon studios to send anyone. Like, they were like, just send us anybody to come be live and come on our channel, and we'd absolutely love it. And then you have the lordofthering.com, who have been remained faithful to Tolkien's interpretation, Tolkien's work. They've pointed out multiple times, you know, the errors in the Jackson trilogy, because there are several errors in the Jackson trilogy, but when we step back and look at it, especially compared to this television adaptation that Amazon has taken upon themselves to endeavor, the level of respect is there in Jackson's trilogy. It's nowhere to really be found in Amazon's adaptation. So it kind of makes you wonder, what exactly are these people thinking, right? And do they listen to fans? Is there any kind of really anything for them to sort of latch onto? Oh, hello, Arcasul. Thank you for that. Evening Mystic 89. Where'd we go? Arcasul. Marty Art. Hello. Fancy seeing you here. Hello, Corey. Charlie, what's going on? Great to see you. Shane Nolan. Oh my gosh. Shane Nolan. There we go. I almost said Knowlton. I don't even know why. Sultan, what's going on? But we have these two fan sites that were sort of duking it out. And if any of you have been paying attention, like, Torn lost their ever-loving marbles. It was pretty atrocious. They were lashing out at fans. I was summarily blocked for calling them out for complimenting a thread that called Tolkien racist as shite. I was like, really torn. Like, you read that whole thing and your response is great thread. It doesn't make any sense. So the shills and the bandwagons and the hacks and the access driven individuals, whether it's mainstream or alternate, or, you know, on social media, it was just these shills and hacks have been running cover for $1 billion franchise, or what they used to brag about being $1 billion franchise. Yes, Shane, they did. I made a video on that too, and I will 100% show it later on in the stream if you want or need me to. But yeah, it was bad. It was brutal. And they just keep doing it. Yes, early 2000s, Torn was the place to go for Tolkien boards, Tolkien information, discussions. They've completely forgotten their roots. All they care about is getting their goodie bags and their access. They flew out for that superfan event. They had people from Torn fly out for their superfan event. Now, I mentioned this on Miss Martin Muse's book stream this morning, but I'm going to mention it here. You cannot be a multi-billion-dollar industry and the underdog. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, exactly, Arcasul. These people just want their access and the clout that comes with it, and if they need to burn Tolkien's legacy and Tolkien's work, if they need to raise it to the ground, they will, just so that they can get what they want. But there is how can I put this? Desperation. It stinks, and it's all over the internet. Screen Rant has been, sniffing their own farts, but they've been so obsessed with trolls and right-wing trolls and haters, and it's insane to me, because this is the same. This is the same website. I shudder to call them an entertainment website, but we're looking at this where they're saying Rings of Power just fixed its biggest Galadriel problem. Now, before we get into what they feel is the biggest Galadriel problem, I want you guys to remember that I brought this article up last night. This is the same outlet, and in fact, it's the same writer who said this back in February. Galadriel is very different in the Rings of Power to Lord of the Rings. And why that's a good thing. Like, literally, when we get down to the bottom of this sucker, they basically, right here, Galadriel is the only woman to champion the exile from Valinor. We're not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. These people are ridiculous. Though she eventually became the stay-at-home mythical elf queen, checking what the Fellowship wanted for Christmas. They literally just compared Galadriel to one of Sansa's helpers in this article that is from February. Okay, this was 8 months ago, and we're talking about how the younger Galadriel is more rebellious, direct, and ambitious. It's no surprise to see that version of Galadriel jumping into dirty steel-to-steel combat rather than just casting powerful spells during key showdowns. Galadriel, armor-clad and packing steel, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power perhaps hints its character art for Morfydd Clark's elf. When Morgoth was up to no good in the first stage, Galadriel declined to fight, believing enemies' power impossible to overcome. No. Tolkien hints that she came to question that in action as centuries passed, and that doubt may have motivated Galadriel to fight as commander in the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. The reach in this article is utterly insane, and it is by Greg Elvey. I find his last name hilarious. But now suddenly Galadriel has a problem. Yeah, she had the biggest problem. It was the biggest problem. Like, what? I thought you just said that she that she has no issues, that she's this, sword wielding, orc slaying, steel trussing. I don't even know anymore. Like, we're just gonna throw words out there and try and make it sound good. Rings of Power might have just solved the biggest overriding problem with Galadriel's characterization in the Amazon TV series. Okay, this man must really love the word characterization, because it's down in here too. Look at this. All right. So, Here we go. Wherever Galadriel's battlefield antics fall within Middle-earth mythology, they do honor her traditional characterization, albeit not necessarily her traditional characterization from The Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry, what? Also, we really like the word characterization. I'm not. Look, I'm just saying, Craig. There's other words in the English language. They're called synonyms. Nobody cares about the spoilers for Rings of Power in episode. There's no spoilers. Nothing happens. We get a throwaway line about a husband whom the two of them are supposed to be completely like, if you read the books, the two of them, it is a love so pure and so passionate and so incredible that there isn't an actual comparison, right? The two of them are side by side through all of this. We get a throwaway line about his up to this point we've heard nothing about Celeborn, not a thing. And then he gets 2 lines of dialogue. She says, "My husband, Celeborn," and then she's like, "We met in a field of flowers." And then she continues on to bash and belittle him, saying that he left for war, I chided him, his armor didn't fit, and I never saw him again. Like, that's all we get. No, that's still a massive problem because they were not separated like that. Well, Tolkien never explicitly said that they were never separated like that. Okay, but it's nowhere in the lore. This is the insanity of this, especially because she's apparently been tracking orcs for centuries at this point. At the better part of 500 years, the better part of 1,000 years, she has been taking up her brother's oath, her brother's mission. This has all been about her brother Finrod, who was slain. Like, she literally says, my brother Finrod, who was slain. And my husband. Like, yeah, we're just going to throw that out there. And you can tell that that scene is a reshoot because it's everything behind her is dark. You can't make anything out. She doesn't look the same as she when you go through the scene. Yeah, she's in the same outfit, but she looks different. Like, she looks different. And it's just, oh my god, it's so horrible. So we get a throwaway line about Celeborn. Hasn't been mentioned for 6.5 episodes. It has nothing to do with her vengeance or her quest or her personal vendetta against the orcs. But now we get to hear that she thinks he's dead. Obviously, they've put this in here so that they can do a big reveal and be like, Celeborn's alive. Yeah, exactly, Shane. 8,000 years of marriage, and I think they were apart for maybe a century. It's pure insanity. So we get down here. Oh my god, there's that word again. Craig, use a different word. Even so, Galadriel's characterization in The Rings of Power suffers one major, impossible-to-ignore problem. She shares virtually nothing in common with Galadriel as written by J.R.R. Tolkien. Really? You don't say. But I thought that because Tolkien didn't explicitly say that she wasn't a sword-wielding, orc-slaying, absolute badass who will just leave her men die when they fall behind in the brutal Northlands, the far northern wastes, we're just gonna keep on walking, keep on walking, keep on walking. Yeah, no, absolutely ridiculous. So obviously she has nothing in common with J.R.R. Tolkien's written Galadriel. None of these characters do. Absolutely zero. This is also, this is a cope. See what they do here? So right here, they're admitting that there's nothing in common with J.R.R. Tolkien. But here it was, well, it's just different from from Jackson's Lord of the Rings. It's still where is it? Tolkien hints she came to question an action as centuries past. So are we not saying this anymore? Craig? What's going on, Craig? Help me follow your... What are we doing here? This is an issue. Your articles are not lining up, bro. They're not lining up. And then they say that it's clear to see that Elrond will become the Lord of Rivendell because he's young, ambitious, and level-headed. I disagree with all of that. I find him irritating, irrational, and what is the word? Gullible? Yeah, we're gonna go with gullible. That's probably the safest word that I can use. Morphic Clark, on the other hand, is essentially playing an original character with Galadriel's name. Wait a minute. I have questions. I have questions. I said this 3 months ago, and I was called a bigot, and I was told to just shut up and watch the show, that I didn't know what I was saying, that I didn't know what I was going on about. Myself and many others, many of you in the chat, many other YouTubers, plenty of people on Twitter, we all said the same thing. This is just going to be an actress playing a character with Galadriel's name. That's what this is going to be. And at no other point is she going to, in any way, characterize, we'll take your word, Craig. She's not going to embody Galadriel. And she hasn't. And then, okay, here we go. Ready? There are vague allusions to the text to Galadriel fighting, sure. But apart from being super old and having a brother, no correlation exists between Clark's character, compelling as she may be, and Galadriel. You should have taken this part out right here, because she's not compelling. She is a plank of wood, who cannot emote, and she can snarl, and she can and she can have RBF. That's really what she's got. Her smile is creepier than friggin' Pennyworth's. I'm telling you, I didn't like that at all. It freaked me out. Rings of Power episode 7, The Eye, fixes that with a single conversation. No, it doesn't. It really, truly does not fix it. Do you know why? Because, again, we're being told and not shown. These writers, these hacks, have no idea how to present a visual medium visually. They have no idea how to do it whatsoever. They haven't got a clue. I mean, genuinely, truly, they have no idea what this means. They don't know what the word compelling means. And they don't know what it means to show and not tell. There shouldn't have been a single conversation. Why couldn't we have had a flashback to her saying goodbye to Celeborn, where the two of them meeting? We had to go through that really awkward bit with her brother Finrod, who was summarily murdered, like, almost immediately, and is the whole motivation for her quest. There's literally articles out there saying that it's to avenge her brother, that she's taking up her brother's fight, that she believes that her brother was right and she was wrong. And we end up, why the Rings of Power's Celeborn reveal fixes Galadriel. Ready for this? The big problem with Galadriel in Rings of Power hasn't been she's different to the books. You just said that that was the problem, but that there's been no justification for why she's different. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. What? No. No. The problem is she's different to the books, and the reason why is because the showrunners are hacks. That's literally it. They wanted a strong feminist character and didn't want to do an original story. They wanted their original character with a patented, proven name so that they could sell their wares under the guise of this. Like, this is gaslighting, guys. This is called grifting. They are selling us a completely different character under a name that belongs to somebody else in order to make money off of the name, because they know the character they've created won't make money. That's literally it. Amazon is grifting like you wouldn't believe. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. They are not the underdogs. They are grifting, and they are using the mainstream media to gaslight the ever-loving bejesus out of us, or attempting to. Finrod's death seemingly serves as her motivation for hunting Sauron and Middle-earth's assorted denizens of darkness. Because it is. Because that is literally what the showrunner said. Her whole motivation is to avenge her brother, to take up her brother's fight, to remember him. And we had to sit through, again, that really awkward discussion with her and her brother. And her brother is calling her Galadriel when she is a child. Now, chat, I know you know this because I've asked you this before. But Do you guys know Galadriel's original name? Just out of curiosity, how many in the chat this stream know Galadriel's original name? Because if it weren't for Celeborn, she never would have gone by the name of Galadriel. It was literally, he calls her that because of what he fell in love with, of what about her makes him, like, just made him fall for her almost instantaneously. But instead of getting that story and understanding what Celeborn means to her and what she means to Celeborn, we get Finrod talking to her as a child, calling her Galadriel, which tells you that these showrunners have not read the Silmarillion or the Unfinished Tales or I wonder if they even read the appendices that they had the rights to adapt, honestly, truly, because it's utterly ridiculous that this would be that her brother would be calling her Galadriel at such a young age. And I'm really, really just ticked that story. Much like there, if you guys have not, if you guys have been paying attention, um, to uh what's going on, if you guys have ever read the Silmarillion or the story of Baron and Luth, like, they are stripping from Baron and Luthien's story, and they are putting it over Galadriel and Celeborn. So it's, I don't know. I don't know what the word would be. Like, sacrilege doesn't quite seem to do it. You know what I mean? There's it's just I don't know. I really wish that I was able to figure out exactly what was going through their heads when they did this, when they wrote this, when this was created. Um but it's, I don't know. Like, sorry. I wish there was I wish there was a better way to put this than, yep, there we go. Heresy. That's probably a good one. But her name was Art. I'm going to say it wrong because I don't speak Elvish fluently, but it was Artanis. And if you read that in Middle Earth, she chose to take the Sindarin name of Galadriel because Celeborn gave it to her, and she loved him so much that she wanted to be called by what he saw of her. That she was literally, wherever she went, she was bathed in a halo. I mean, it was basically her hair. But it made it seem like there was a halo and her inner light shone so brightly. And so all of these things, it's because of his love for her that she was able to accept that name and to let the world know she loved her husband so much that the name that he spoke when he saw her is what she chose to go by. And that's nowhere in here. Like, that's not anywhere in here. We get none of it. But Finrod died in the books too. Yes, but he was also he was also resurrected. So in reality, when she jumped off the boat to swim away, she was abandoning Finrod because he would already be back in Valinor at that point. So even reimagined Galadriel should share at least some common ground with her namesake. You don't say. I hate this word reimagined. I want it to burn. And without a proper explanation for acting so out of character, Morfydd Clark's Galadriel lacks the all-important authenticity. She still lacks that. She still lacks that. I don't know why you think that suddenly because she gave 3 lines of dialogue, 2 lines of throwaway dialogue and 1 line of her absolutely bashing her own husband, that it fixes anything. She isn't authentic. She doesn't care. The look on her face when she's talking about her husband, when she's trying to remember her husband fondly, whom she believes is dead, like, she believes whether he is alive or dead is not the issue at this point. She believes that Celeborn is dead, that she will never see him again. It's been centuries since she has seen him. Centuries. And somehow, that's the face you get. That's her face. That is her face when she is remembering with fondness and despair and longing. That's the face that Celeborn gets. It's been centuries since she's seen him. That's the face she's going to make for him. And then we get pursed lips. So this is what I'm talking about. Okay, so footsteps approaching. Do 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 do. Na 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 na. Oh, by the way, this is also hilarious. She's like, "You did not intend for this to happen," and then, he's like, "Yes, but neither did you." And she doesn't like agree with him. Like, so did she intend for Mordor to be created? I'm really confused. I don't know what side Galadriel is on, but it's not the good guys, okay? Yeah, he's like, my home is gone. The orcs show up. How they don't see him, and then they smell, and he's like, what do you smell? Ash and death. Which, okay, they were covered in a pyroclastic cloud that should have vaporized them, but nonetheless. Do 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 do. This is the scene that they are referencing. About how this one conversation fixes every issue. And you're like, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Oh, yeah, and we're ripping off more dialogue from a much better trilogy. But, that's cool. Whatever. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Like, she looks, as we go through this scene, all right, the big thing for me, and they're like, oh, well, that doesn't mean it's a reshoot. They're like, actors change day to day. They use different cuts from different takes. This is true. Okay? But I want you guys to pay real close attention. That sucker's chipped right there. See, you can literally see the seam. Maybe I'm sorry if it's too dark for you guys. This episode, like this part particularly, was really poorly shot. But you can see the seam right there. And then as we go on, and she's like, beyond darkness in this world. We have to trust their design, okay? So we still have like this weird shoulder hump thing going on, right? Hold on. Oh, man. Where did it go? I cannot yet see it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's at the beginning. Yeah. Did you ever lose anybody? And he's like, and that's when she's like, my brother Finrod, right? Okay. When she does the twirly loop thing, she puts it away. That seam's gone. And now it's there. And like everything. Oh God, I'm so angry. Like we get this is the line that fixes everything. Theo, you jealous? You little 13-year-old boy. Celeborn was his name. you see how dark this is back here? Like, the background, boom, solid black. Oh, well, they changed camera angles. Okay, but then, like, as we go through, the background changes, her hair has changed, her makeup has changed, the freaking shoulder hump thing has changed, and then when we come back over, boom, the shoulder hump thing is gone again. She's back to what she looked like before. All that jazz. And then, of course, when they hide from the orcs, she looks different. Like, but yeah, you get this flat, like, this is the issue with people who, like, there's a reason that actors used to, like, train. You know what I mean? She clearly doesn't care about this person. It was a throwaway line of dialogue. It was, you know, they threw it in there to appease apparently fans because, like I was saying, the backlash to Celeborn not being because at this point there's no reference that she's been married or anything of that nature. I'm telling you, this backlash was so severe and so just jaw-dropping for Amazon that they threw in that scene. They threw in those lines of dialogue, and I would be willing to bet for a twist, because remember, Celeborn is like, she just thinks he's dead. She can't prove it's dead. Or he's dead. It's dead. See, listen to me. I'm already turning. But I am willing to bet money that they're going to make Adar or whatever you call him. It's going to be Celeborn. He'll be the one that was acting against her, and she's been fighting him this whole time. And she's the only one who can redeem him. And then she's going to forgive all of the tortures and the maiming and the scarring of the earth and the creation of Mordor that he did, because he was so lost without her. I would be willing to bet you that is what's going to happen. Do I have an inside source telling me that? No. But based on the way that these hack writers do things, I can't see them doing anything else. They don't have any other clever ploy or anything else. I mean, we've not heard hide nor hair of Celeborn for 6.5 episodes. And then they just drop that one line of dialogue. There's no other established character. There's no other big reveal. There's no other shock value that they could get. But if Adar, who was maybe only a little bit corrupted by Sauron, and was Celeborn, who was only a little bit corrupted, and then he broke away from Sauron and was trying to create a new land, like, the misinterpreted will of the Valar, and so he's taken the same words as Morgoth, but has decided that he really wants this place to like thrive and to be a kingdom or whatever. So even though he's doing the exact same thing as Morgoth and as Sauron wanted to have happen, he's somehow better for it because he's trying to do it with noble intentions, because of course he's lost his one true love, Galadriel. She's nowhere around. He was in absolute darkness without his star, and then she's gonna come into he's gonna walk up, he's gonna be like having a cloud follow him or whatever to kill flowers. He's gonna be in a field of flowers. The pyroclastic cloud's gonna follow him, and he's gonna be walking up to go kill this field, and then Galadriel's gonna step into it, and he's going to fall to his knees and cry and be like, oh my gosh, like, my star, I was lost without you, I thought you were gone. They're gonna be reunited. She's gonna come up and touch him, and he's gonna transform back into Celeborn, and he's gonna say, I've done terrible things. And she's gonna say, but for the right reasons, and because I was not at your side, you must let go. The same thing she told Halbrand. I can almost guarantee they're going to repurpose their own dialogue. Whatever it is that you are holding on to in your heart, let it go. I willing to bet you money. I'm sorry, Shane. I can totally see them doing it. Because could they bring in a brand new character? Absolutely. Could it be that Celeborn was trapped in the bowels of some dungeon for these centuries? Of course. But that would not be the shock value. That would not deliver the same shock value as if it was Adar. You know what I mean? So, yes, hello, Damien, and you are 100% correct. They don't care. They cannibalize it and pervert it to fit their own deranged objectives. Absolutely. I mean, Screen Rant has literally, they're making it up as they go, just like Amazon, because they're so desperate to try and protect Amazon from YouTubers, from people with a microphone on YouTube, from people on Twitter. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't need, if this was successful, you shouldn't need this much coverage. During Heart to Heart with Theo, I would not call it a heart to heart. In Rings of Power, episode 7, Galadriel speaks about how she lost her brother, but then adds, and my husband. That's what I'm saying. It's a throwaway line. He's an afterthought. He's an afterthought to her because he was an afterthought to the showrunners. Ridiculous. She goes on to describe meeting Celeborn for the first time and the day he went to war, admitting, I never saw him again after that. Galadriel evidently assumes Celeborn is dead, and this revelation might finally add to that vital missing ingredient to explain why Rings of Power's future Lady of Lothlorien is absolutely nothing like the Lady of Lothlorien. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the contradictions in this article are utterly ridiculous. They are as bad as in the show. But what can you expect? There's nothing in the show of any substance. It has no legs to stand on. In Tolkien's books, Galadriel and Celeborn involvement in the war against Morgoth is ambiguous at best. Because earlier accounts explicitly state they did not take part, and Lord of the Rings suggests the couple had already ventured east beyond the mountains, but it's possible they returned to Beleriand especially for the fight. No, they didn't. At the very least, we can say Galadriel did not spend centuries of Middle-earth Second Age believing her husband died in battle, and this Rings of Power backstory change can explain Galadriel's personality change. No, it can't, because she hasn't mentioned it before now. Despite great losses she endured in Tolkien's mythology, she always had Celeborn. In Rings of Power, she loses everybody she loves, including Celeborn, which works as a trigger for her becoming a great warrior hell-bent on vanquishing evil. But that's not even what she's doing. This stark evolution actually implied in Rings of Power when Galadriel describes dancing with Celeborn on the day they met, and Theo is shocked to learn this ruthless warrior used to moonwalk, maybe, around Doriath. See, they're taking stuff, Screen Rant is pulling stuff from the books and shoving it into their article as a filler for an hour and 10-minute episode. Like, guys, we have 8 hours of this series, and nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. Except Mount Doom was created by a MacGuffin BS sword that turned into a key, but also uses blood magic to become an actual Shadow Blade. Like, they don't know what they are doing. They are making it up as they go. And so these shill writers, these shill media guys are running cover for them by pulling things from the book, and they're like, well, from this we could infer because Tolkien didn't explicitly say, and there's too much ambiguity, and, so, like, they're doing the best to fill it in. There's a tacit implication that losing Celeborn... No, there's no implication! She didn't even have facial... There was nothing on her face. She wasn't mourning a lost love. She wasn't fondly remembering better days. She wasn't thinking about the man whom she spent millennia with, who gave her the name Galadriel. No. That is nothing... There's no tacit implication. It was a flat, throwaway line delivered by a flat, just uncaring, unfeeling actress who doesn't know how to emote. Everybody keeps telling me, oh, she's great in this and she's great in that. Was she, though? Was she really? I doubt it sincerely. I really, truly do. There is no tacit implication of anything. That losing Celeborn is why Galadriel turned from graceful mythical character fans already know in Rings of Power to orc-slaying badass. No. No. It doesn't fix any of that. If that were the reason, she would have brought it up a heck of a lot sooner than 6.5 episodes in, and dang sure sooner than some random boy that she happened to meet. Like, oh my word in heaven, deliver me. Oh. I hate this so much. Words probably cannot put it into do any justice to it. See, I'm struggling right now just to find simple words. We're freaking ridiculous. Oh, hello, Miss Martin. Yes, they are absolutely going to multiverse this crap because they have no other angle. They have no other. These are, remember, guys, these are Jar Jar Abrams people. The only thing they know is BS mystery boxes that are empty at the end of them, MacGuffins, member berries, and multiverses. Because they're not talented enough to present a well fleshed out, thoughtful, intriguing, incredible character with an amazing backstory and so much depth and so much potential. They have no idea how to do that, so they're just going to make their own one-dimensional feminist brand and then slap another name on it and be like, look at what we did. Yes, I said that earlier. They are 100% ripping off Baron and Luthien. Utterly insane. I cannot take it. I really want to just kick somebody in the teeth. Who's Kristen Stewart? Sorry. Who's Kristen Stewart? Her emote ability presents as the first cousins to Kristen Stewart. I know that name. Thank you, Damien. I know that name. Hold on. Here she is. Okay, Kristen Stewart. I can't. Which? Okay. I've never seen Twilight and I've never read the books, but by God. Yeah, no, she can't. I know her better. I know her better from Snow White and the Huntsman. I literally knew her as Twilight Chick. Yeah, Shane Nolan. Yes. No, she wasn't Snow White. She was a horrible actress who hijacked Snow White's name. And I'm sorry, in what universe is she more beautiful than Charlize Theron, who is also bat crap crazy, but at no means is she even in the same realm of beauty as Charlize Theron. No. Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with that statement. They're both planks of wood. 100%. Since Galadriel hadn't mentioned Celeborn, nor their daughter Celebrian, who's supposed to be around by now. Oh, well, I'm glad we're pointing that out because maybe. So wait, does that mean that Screen Rant are racist, sexist bigots who need to let the lore go? Just out of curiosity, because I was told that anybody that says this is a bigot, isn't really a fan, just looking for stuff to hate about the Amazon series, that we don't actually have any criticisms. We just want to hate it. I didn't want to hate this. I wanted to love it. I do hate it because it's disrespectful, unimaginative, repurposed, just, it's trash. It's just incomplete and utter trash. Many assume the character had been left out as part of Galadriel's overhaul, because he was, until they threw in 3 lines of dialogue about him. Episode 7 brings the Lost Elf into Amazon canon by revealing that Prince of Doriath was a victim of Morgoth's war. Although Galadriel evidently believes Celeborn died, it's interesting that she only says, "I never saw him again after that." See, that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. They are leaning heavily into the implication that he is dead, or at the very least that she believes he has been dead for all of these centuries. All these centuries, she's believed that Celeborn is dead. Now, here's what's interesting, because at the beginning of the series, Finrod's likeness got carved into a tree. We never saw Celeborn's. You don't think that? So why would she go to her brother's likeness and not her husband's? Did that not raise a red flag for anybody? I'm just saying. So either they believe him to be dead and he has a tree with his likeness carved into it, or they don't believe he's dead and therefore he is imprisoned somewhere, somehow, and Galadriel just doesn't give two tosses and is just letting him rot in whatever orc dungeon he happens to be in. Neither one works. They're both terrible. And they both make Galadriel, Rings of Power, Galadriel, a piece of crap. I mean, for real. But everybody's hanging on I never saw him again after that. So he's not really dead. I never said he was. I said that they either murdered him or they made him Adar. Like, those are the options at this point. Like, that's what I truly believe is happening. They're gonna do this BS reveal of Celeborn became Adar, and only she can save him. Just ridiculous. Rings of Powers Episode 1 History Lesson sequence showed Galadriel rifling through bodies of deceased soldiers, and had she discovered something vaguely resembled her husband, she would have alluded to this while conversing with Theo. Never saw him again implies no sign of Celeborn was ever found. Yes, that's my point. So she either has no reason to believe that he is dead, or she has every reason to believe that he is dead, and he should have a tree with his likeness carved into it. And she should have been hunting for her husband, who is obviously imprisoned or in some kind of situation that he can't get back to the woman he loved, to the woman that he named, to the woman that he set off with. They took Celeborn's background history and Elrond's history, and they gave it to Galadriel. Celeborn is by far the most seasoned, the most experienced, and the most capable fighter out of any of the elves that are named in Tolkien's lore. Like, and they gave it to Galadriel. It's just insane. Yeah, exactly, Shane. Like, looking for him might be a better quest rather than revenge. Just saying. I mean, this thing is literally, it's a soap opera. It is a fantasy soap opera that costs $1 billion that they love to tout around. Except, maybe it's not actually $1 billion. Variety did an interview with Jennifer Salk, or Salke, however you say her name, head of Amazon Studios. And now it's suddenly only 700 million. Now, that's still a bejesus ton of money. But it's 300 million shy of $1 billion. And remember, they had been bragging about that $1 billion price tag. It's insane. Also, this dress is not flattering on her because it makes it look like she's only got, like, I had to do a double take when I looked at this. I don't understand the nude dress thing. It doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. So we go down here. Guys, there's virtually nothing about the story. So the way that this was marketed on Twitter, almost 100 million Amazon subscribers have watched Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Remember, anybody who has tuned in for more than 6 minutes is considered a viewer, even though these episodes are well over an hour long. So we're talking 10%. So we're talking less than 10% of the episode. If you have viewed, that includes the 3-minute title intro. So if you watched the opening title and the, previously on, or like the intro scene, the title scene, and then 30 seconds into whatever the first scene of that episode is, you've watched 6 minutes of the episode. And this is 100 million Amazon subscribers. This doesn't say new subscribers. This doesn't say 100 million viewers. This says 100 million Amazon subscribers have watched Lord of the Rings. Almost 100 million Amazon subscribers have watched Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. So there is at no point do they talk about in this. Oh, really? Come on, article. What are you doing to me? There we go. At no point in this article do they talk about new Prime subscribers, which was the whole point of this this particular endeavor, was to get more Prime subs, right? They have to get so many Prime subscribers to make up the difference, because if everybody that's watching it is already people that have a subscription, and I know 100 million people, like, that's a lot of people. That is less than 1/3 the population of America, of the United States, just to put that in perspective. So that is less than 1/3 of the people in the US watching this on a global scale. All right, so we're gonna do math, because math never lies unless you do it wrong. In which case you're lying to yourself. The math is still correct, but you just lied to yourself. So what is there? 7.8 billion people, right? So here I'll do it without decimals, so that nobody can be like, "Oh, well, you did it with decimals, so you were able to shift it." Okay, so we'll break it down: 100,000 million billion. Okay, and I'm doing this backwards, but it is what it is. So I didn't actually hit that yet. So we'll go 100 million, 100,000 million, right? 100 million, 100 million. And then we're going to divide that by 7,800,000 people. So 100,000 million billion. All right. I think the math so far checks. Boom. That's less than 1 point. So in order to, if remember conversion for percentage, you just move the decimal place over 2 points, right? You move it over 2 spots. Okay, that's how we do. That's the fast and easy way to do percentage conversion. So boop boop. That means that only 1.28%. If you want to round up to 1.3, we can. 1.3% of the global population has watched this film or this series. Like, all 7 episodes, across all 7 episodes, 1.3 of the global population, according to their statement, has watched this. I don't know how to say this without sounding really smug, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. For a multi-billion-dollar industry that has its fingers in virtually every corner of the globe, that is not a lot. I mean, it's simply not. And based on the reactions on YouTube, on Twitter, the fact that Amazon had to hold reviews for a week before they allowed it, before they allowed reviews to be posted, the deleting of comments from Rotten Tomatoes, from IMDb, from all of these from all these other review websites that have been trying to hide the truth. It means that they know that this isn't a hit. It means that they are attempting to use verbiage that isn't untrue. This verbiage isn't untrue. When you hear 100 million, that's a lot. That is a lot. That's a lot of people. But then when you think about it, that's less. That is 1.3% of the global population. That means 98.7% of the world is not watching this show. They're not watching it. And for a company that has the reach that Amazon does, that is not a good thing. And of the 1.3% that are watching it, how many of them are actually enjoying it? How many of them have positive feedback? Do you know how I know that this is an issue? Is because right up in here, champagne corks popping as war rooms monitored surge that most likely did come. Oh my God, this whole article is just utterly ridiculous. And we get quotes from Nicole Kidman saying how Selkie is an absolute treasure. I'd do anything for that woman. Lizzo gets a quote. Oh, come on, Variety. Why are you doing this? Phoebe Waller-Bridge gets a quote. You know who doesn't get a quote? Do you know who doesn't get a quote? Simon Tolkien. Simon Tolkien doesn't get a quote. And then we talk about MGM. So this isn't even just about Rings of Power. We have other stuff thrown in here. We get Reese Witherspoon's quote. We get Lizzo. We get Ben Affleck's quote. Aaron Sorkin, Bob Greenblatt, like all these people. But when they bring up Simon, there's so much darkness in the world. Leaning into light was the other thing that was really appealing to everybody, bringing something to our global customer base that is hopeful and has light and that a family can watch. Well, you missed the mark. Here we go. How was a Tolkien estate to work with? The rights of this property have been so carved up. Was it tricky for you all? Simon Tolkien, the author's grandson, turned out to be such a collaborator of ours and a friend. He's a wonderful guy and an author in his own right. He's sort of the designated liaison for this deal with Amazon. There were very clear guidelines around that participation, and he really became such a good sounding board and partner. What sort of guidance did he give you? Was there anything on his wish list? It wasn't that specific. Okay, so he went from being a good friend and a sounding board and the liaison for this Amazon deal to it wasn't very specific. It was more about advising around different pathways of rights that might have challenges to them. Because there are very clear delineations there. But the estate was very open and encouraging for reinvention. I doubt that sincerely. But always in ways that stay true to Tolkien. You can't have both. You cannot have reinvention of Tolkien's work and staying true to Tolkien. It doesn't work like that at all. We all have the same kind of vision for this property. I doubt that sincerely. There was never any disconnect there, which is probably why it worked out so well. So where's Simon Tolkien's quote? He was such a good friend. He was such a great collaborator. He was this sounding board, and he helped guide you through the challenges of the delineations in the rights. Where's his stuff at? Where's his quote? You got Phoebe Waller-Bridge right here, who I have no idea why she's being brought up at all, but she's there. I don't understand why you wouldn't have a quote from Simon Tolkien in there. It boggles the mind. Disparu! How you doing, handsome? Yeah, everyone's evil. Literally. Let's lean into the light, and then everybody's evil. Oh, Miss Martin, thank you so much for the $9.99 super sticker. It's the doggy holding the heart. I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I have more than a little bit of issue with all of this. But I think when you step back and you look at just how utterly insane these people are, and that most of this stuff is fluff. Here, let's see. Her career has taken her to senior management roles. Selkin has done a deft job of managing creative teams at a high level and at the same time staying close to the final project. She's very hands-on in the details of these big shows and the details that make these things work, says Tony Vicarina, chairman CEO of Sony Pictures Entertainment. Sony TV co-produces one of Prime's biggest series, the sardonic superhero romp The Boys, with Amazon Studios. Executives also work together on Fox. She genuinely gets excited about her shows, and that's not always the case with execs. She does everything she can to get behind them and make them work, which we love to see. So, like, there's all of this, like, we're fluffing her up. We're saying she does all of these things, and yet she's literally delivering one of the most disrespectful adaptations that I have ever seen in my entire life. I just make it stop. Like, the amount of gaslighting that happens in this article is insane. Much has been made of the $450 million price tag for production. Is that number accurate? And did the sheer amount of investment going into making this even more daunting? So we went from $1 billion to $700 million to $450 million. So we have now dropped by another, let's see. So we went from 700 to 450. So we're now talking $250 million drop. again. So $450 million for production. And then this was her response. We're building infrastructure for 5 seasons. A small city, always going to spend what we need to spend to get it right. Well, you failed because your armor looks like the, and this isn't to insult Hobby Lobby at all, but it looks like the discount fabric rack of Hobby Lobby is where you bought your stuff. I'm fortunate to be working with this. I am fortunate to be working at this company where we want to be financially disciplined, but nobody wanted to compromise on what this would be visually. I think it was all money really well spent. I disagree. If you look at how people are reacting to the visual experience of the show, that's been overwhelmingly positive. It's pretty. Okay, well, that's not substance at all. Like, not even a little bit. I mean, a pretty face is not a personality. And quite frankly, we don't even have a pretty face. We have Morphin Clark, who can't act and can't emote. What's your target for a season 2 premiere date? Here is where you know they are desperate to get this thing rolling because something somewhere is not going right. So the production team is working on season 2 right now. We're going to get that out into the world as soon as we can. Will it be out in 2023? We want the shortest time possible between seasons, but we want to keep the bar just as high. Well, that's not hard because it's really low. So it will take what it takes. This is such a non-answer. I would hate to be this interviewer. Utterly ridiculous. But there's been some urgency around moving quickly, which is why these guys have been writing all through their hiatus. We're moving fast. So it's going to take as long as it takes, but we're moving fast because there's a sense of urgency. You know why there's a sense of urgency? Because there's no excitement about this. It was, there's no genuine excitement. There's no genuine or organic trend for this. Like, it's not trending organically. If you look at the promoted tweets of Amazon, especially when they do collaborated tweets, they are getting pushed by the algorithm. It's a promoted tweet. They have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I think there's over a million subs between them, between the two of them, and they get maybe 3,000 likes on a tweet. It's utterly insane. So they're asking, will it be out in 2023? And she's like, we want it in the shortest time possible between seasons, but it's going to take what it takes. But also there's urgency, so we're moving quickly. They just started allegedly filming season 2. I'm curious how that's going to work because they don't have anything. They don't have a studio in the UK as far as I am aware. Not yet, anyway. Here's something you always love to hear about the head of your studio. She's not a quiet leader. When she wants something, she really wants it. She pursued red, white, and royal blue in the same style she pursued My Policeman. And when she gets something, she's all about what can we do to tee you up for success. It creates a familial atmosphere at the studio. So just out of curiosity, do people not tell her no because they don't want to get in trouble? Like, this is confusing to me because loud leaders are not necessarily good leaders. And quiet leaders are not necessarily bad ones. So they are renting out a massive set, or they're building a massive set and renting out one, which I assume is the start. Yeah, okay. So I suppose they could start, but like, if they don't have anything, what are they gonna, how? Just wow. I don't even, oh my God, really? She said she has an evil and unsettling face. She does, especially when she smiles. Like I said, it's scarier than Pennyworth's. 1 month in, how do you feel? Here we go. How do you feel about the performance so far? I would think, so before I read that paragraph, and it's just one paragraph. Look, up here, when we're blowing smoke up of her rear, look at how long these paragraphs are. Look at how much description it is talking about how great Selkie is and how talented she is and all this experience that she has and what a great and incredible person she is, and she's deeply kind, loyal, and talented. She's a treasure. Look at this. We're blowing smoke up her butt, and we're getting insane amounts of fluff. And then when she talks about when she first got to Amazon, that one's long. We're getting to Rings of Power uses Tolkien's work as a foundation. No, it does not. But there's a lot of material that's not from Lord of the Rings canon. How did you set the tone for that material? And that's where we get there's so much darkness in the world. Leaning into the light was another thing that was really appealing to everybody. But as Disbrew said, everybody's evil. So how'd that work out for you? Then we get this tiny blurb about Simon. Like, they will throw out Tom Shippey and Simon Tolkien's name as another kind of shield against people who actually know, respect, and want to see the lore done correctly. But they won't give any. It wasn't that specific. They will give no specifics. Tom Shippey left the project, whether he was dismissed or left of his own free will. You can speculate because it went from he gave an interview that broke his contract, and so they let him go, to he went head to head with the Amazon studio execs and the showrunners and said that they were polluting Tolkien's lore, and that's why he was dismissed. And then there's others saying that he left of his own volition because he was so disgusted with the project. Be that as it may, the top Tolkien scholar in the world did not remain on your project. Didn't remain on your project. That doesn't bode well. You've gotten rid of all of these other things, and then Simon Tolkien, whom you claim is a great friend, a fantastic collaborator, a solid sounding board, and partner, and you can't even get a quote from him? I mean, honestly, you can't get a single quote about it. So when we go through all of this, and apparently Jeff Bezos he respects the integrity of what we're setting up and the intelligence and thoughtfulness behind it, which is absolutely zero. And Jeff Bezos loves this show and this whole endeavor as much as anybody possibly could. I've talked to him about it a lot, and I can tell he's proud of it. Whatever you say. So here we go. This all culminates into, how do you feel about the performance so far? This should be the longest portion of this article, and it is one of the shortest, if not the shortest. We're cresting toward 100 million customers having watched it, so it's a big number. So these are already existing customers. These are not people who got a new Prime account to watch this, in order to tune into this show. These are already existing accounts, which means their revenue has not increased because of this show. It hasn't. They're saying 100 million customers having watched it. It doesn't say new customers. It doesn't say that 60 million of them are existing customers and almost 40 million are new customers. No breakdowns like that whatsoever. So it's really easy to make this sound good. But when this is the same amount of money that you have been making for the past 5-10 years, then that means that this show was a waste of money because it has not increased your revenue stream. It simply hasn't. You have not captured a broader market. Your market size has remained the same, which anybody who studies economics knows that it is nearly impossible. Once you reach sort of like that plateau of the market, it's really hard to capture a bigger portion of the market because you've got your loss leaders, you've got your cash cows, you have your dogs, of course, and Amazon's had quite a few dogs. But Amazon has not been able to grow their sub count based off this show, which was the entire point. But the way that they're wording this, 100 million customers, that's a big number, and it is a big number. But I have to remind you again, that's less than a third of the United States population. That means that if you walk up to a group of 3 people, maybe 1 in 3 of them have watched this show. That's what we're talking about. Those are the numbers. Math does not lie. We can't wait to get more info on how the audience all breaks down. So allegedly, they don't even know, even though their subs are the one watching this, and you have to give your information to them, like your demographic information to them, so that they know that you're a real person with a real account, like that. There's no easier way to verify that these are real people than Amazon. So they already know who's watching this and who isn't. But they still need more information on how their audience all breaks down. No, they don't. They have it all. They have all of it. They're just trying to find a way to word it. we really anticipate that these last 3 episodes, with these last 3 episodes, a huge turnout because it's all coming together and curiosity is at a fever pitch. And these last few episodes are the strongest in the season. I can't. Oh my God. What? These are your best episodes? An unrealistic volcanic eruption, magic mithril that is the cure for everything, a MacGuffin blade that opened up a dam, and then your characters surviving a minimum 6,000 degree pyroclastic cloud coming right at their face. These are your strongest episodes? That's hilarious. Holy bejesus. I can't even. What? Oh my God. Guys, if this is as good as it gets, Amazon's in trouble. Holy cow. Wow. So these last few episodes are the strongest in the season because they're not just about the setup. Well, I don't know. Maybe don't waste over half your season doing absolutely nothing and making it all about the setup. I don't understand that mentality. I don't understand that approach. This is insanity on its face, on the face of it. Why would you spend 5 hours of the current 8 hours of footage that we have just doing mere setups with BS payoff? Like, nothing happens. We're still getting introduced to characters. We're still getting background stories. The stuff that they have shown in these past 7 episodes could have been shown in 1.5 well-written episodes. Literally 1.5 episodes could have covered everything that they've done so far. It's insane. Strongest in terms of hot air, apparently. I mean, what is this? Elves are made of asbestos. I'm sorry, Tolkien never said they weren't. That's true. He never explicitly said that elves were not made of asbestos. Oh my gosh. They're excellent. They are excellent, guys. These last 3 episodes are so excellent. They're so excellent. Based on the evidence that has been provided, they are in fact not. They are an excellent waste of time and money, and they're an excellent way to piss off Tolkien fans and to crap on the lore, but they are not excellent episodes at all. If this is what you think good television is, you should not be an exec, Selkie. I don't even know what else to say other than you, like, she has also, earlier in this article, it talks about how she was credited for the huge turnaround at NBC. NBC's viewership is lower than ever. Lower than ever. But yes, let's credit her with just this amazing brilliance and stunning achievements that she has accomplished because she is a woman and she can do no wrong. Oh my goodness. And now we're off in it, like, okay, that's what we feel about the performance, and now we're just moving on to MGM. Do you have clarity on how Amazon Studios and MGM will coexist? And then essentially she says that we're going to put even more into film. You'll see more investment and more expansive opportunities for film, more fluidity between theatrical and streaming options for films. And then there's a TV team that's still working on great shows that exist outside our company, and we're looking forward to more collaboration as time goes on. That means they have no plan. They have no plan whatsoever. There isn't a plan. I don't even know. Outside of... I'm trying to think. From everything that's been stated, essentially MGM is still going to operate as MGM, and they're just going to answer to Sulky. Kind of like how, oh my gosh, why can't Pixar, when Amazon, or when Disney took over them, they were allowed to be their own thing for a while, but then eventually Disney stuck their fingers in that pie too, and they were no longer autonomous. And even with all the volatility in the stock market, Amazon's market cap is still more than $1 trillion. Do box office receipts matter to your film business? It definitely matters. You could have fooled me. You could have 1000% fooled me. Oh my God. They're not acting like it matters. The goal is to make hit movies. That's the goal, guys. That's the goal. We all know that's not easy. It actually is. You just don't want to do what's necessary to make hit films. The problem is you want to do all this virtue signaling and virtue messaging and then have people who are actually genuine individuals who work hard for their money and don't want to give you their hard-earned money. You want those people to give you their money while basically insulting them to their face. Oh my gosh. Ugh. As we build out the larger businesses around us and all the things we're doing in ad-supported streaming, we're just thinking about more options for customers. Nothing rings the bell louder than big originals that are global. So you're going to see us invest more on the film side and television side. And we get a quote from, or we get to talk about Lizzo. Give us an example of a show that only Amazon Studios would make. Lizzo's Watch Out for Big Girls. During COVID, we went to a Zoom meeting with her. She got on and she's so Lizzo. She's so Lizzo. She talked about her upbringing and breaking into the business. She's like, when I go in to cast my backup dancers, there's nowhere to call. I have to find these people myself. She told us she wanted to sign her own agency called Big Girls to cultivate talent, and she wanted to do a reality show where some contestants become her backup singers. I said, we're done, we're doing that. And so we just moved forward, and it was just the most joyful experience. I don't understand. We have gone from talking about Selkie and running Rings of Power and how, right, Amazon head breaks down $700 million Rings of Power gamble and plan for MGM integration. But now we're talking about Lizzo. Like, it has nothing to do with anything. And we brought up the coof. Of course we brought up the coof. Because everything with the pandemic and the coof, that's what we got to do. So this part is so... You're angling for big global hits with Lord of the Rings, The Boys, Jack Ryan. How much are you investing in local language production content aimed for specific regions outside the US? Okay, pause. Wheel of Time is not mentioned, and they flopped that sucker hard, and they needed that to be a hit too. They were expecting way more out of Wheel of Time than they got, and that's why it died. That's why you don't hear anything about it now. But you know what else is missing from there? Do you see Reacher anywhere? That was an actual hit show. That had organic interest, organic hype, organic everything. Everything that they want to have happen for these shows that they've shoved their messaging into, it happened for Reacher. And they can't duplicate it. There's no formula that they can stick in a bottle and plug into a machine and replicate it, and they're pissed off. But do you see Reacher anywhere in this title? I guarantee you Reacher has probably outperformed all of these shows, and it's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Oh, look at that. Yeah, you're right, Disprove. There's no terminal list either. There isn't any terminal list up there either. But no, we're going to focus on Lord of the Rings, The Boys, and Jack Ryan. Why? Because those are the ones that they have invested the most money and the most time, and they are the biggest gamble. Amazon is, I did a video on this earlier. Amazon is closing their call centers except for one because they need to save money on property. Now, here's the thing. If you need to save money quickly, you lay off a bunch of people. Right? So the traditional method of companies trying to save their bottom line, salvage things before the end of the fiscal year or before the end of the calendar year, depending on where things fall, you'll see mass layoffs, right? What this move does, when you need sustained savings, you sell off hard assets like land, like property. And even if they're only renting those buildings where the call centers are in, that is still money that they don't have to spend. But also, now think about this. So they're making it sound like a really good deal because, the pandemic happened. People are used to working at home now. There's all this fight to not come into the office, right? So closing down all these call centers is going to save them money on the property. Again, whether they rent it or they have to pay property taxes or whatever. here's what they're not telling you. The infrastructure is something they no longer have to pay for either. Because when people think, oh, yeah, they cover the rent, but you have to think that means that they are also paying for and maintaining phone lines, and they have a contract with a phone company, internet provider, internet service providers, different companies that come in and provide computers or are doing the hardwiring, the electronics, the electricity, all of those things, right? The maintenance of the place, the janitorial system, or the janitorial services, all of these things they no longer have to pay for. And I guarantee you, Amazon is not about to dish out the money to provide infrastructure for employees who are now going to be working from home. They're not going to give them the money to get high, like, what is it, fiber optic cables for fiber optic internet, or even just regular Ethernet to upgrade to faster services so that they can handle and maintain the call volume and length that would be required from Amazon. They're going to have a computer that is solely devoted to working for Amazon with, the company information, the programs, all of that stuff on their own computer device at home. They're going to need to have a landline in their home, which means they're going to now have to deal with the contracting for the phone company and setting up their own phone lines and system and make sure it can support customer service the way that Amazon needs it to. Their computer's going to have to able to do it. They're going to have the internet, all of that infrastructure. They are now going to have to provide for themselves. That stuff is expensive. And if any of these employees live in a more rural area, I have to look it up, but I think in the South, to do 1 mile of fiber optic internet cable is like 10 grand. So if you live 3 miles in this, like, that's not even far, but if you live 3 miles outside of town and there's not, like, you're out in the sticks a little ways, you're not even that far outside of city limits. Do you have 30 grand to have them run fiber optic cables to your house so that you can have the system that you need? And here's the thing, if the employees are not able to get that landline and that internet service to their house, then Amazon can let them go and be like, well, you failed to meet our requirements and expectations, so we're going to let you go. So we're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars saved for Amazon. Plus, they're probably going to lose some employees in the process who do not have the ability or capability to get the infrastructure that they need for this particular endeavor to work remotely from home. So not only is Amazon saving on the real estate, which is a long-term savings, because that's a fixed cost is what it's called. So you have the fixed costs of the building itself, but then everything that is in the building to run it, the electricity, the water, the gas, the phone contract, the internet. Now it's on their employees to handle at a individual level. Amazon's not going to dish out the money to pay that for you because they're trying to save money. That's exactly why they're getting rid of the real estate. So essentially, you are going to be remote working and you're going to have to deal with all of the costs that come with everything that Amazon is all the infrastructure that Amazon is no longer providing for you. Yeah, basically, they're about to become independent contractors. That's exactly what's about to happen. So we've no Reacher, we have no Wheel of Time, we have no Terminal List on here, but they're claiming that they're looking for big global hits. Amazon Studios has seen staff grow by more than 50% to about 1,500 employees since you signed on. The studio's output has had similar growth curve. What's the biggest challenge of managing that kind of growth? This part cracks me up. Have you guys ever been in an interview and they're like, a job interview, and they're like, what's your greatest weakness? And you're like, well, I'm extremely detail oriented and I'm a perfectionist, so sometimes that means I'll take a little bit longer on projects, but the upside of that is that I always know that I'm turning out my best work, right? Because you're never supposed to actually answer in the negative. Ready for this? what you'll notice with us is that we're going to try to not do everything. You don't say. Is that perhaps why you're farming out 85 to 95% of your production to other studios and telling them they can keep whatever they don't spend? Huh. Interesting. We're going to try and do some things really well as far as acquiring new audiences and then evolve from there. Every decision we make is associated with the goal. It's not like I just go, okay, let's greenlight that. I beg to differ. We look at whatever data we have to support. If you spend X amount on that, we expect you to accomplish A, B, and C. We are constantly looking at Prime Video's overall trajectory of how we are engaging with customers. No, you're not. And if you are, you're ignoring it. This is not like when I got here and the mandate was to surprise and delight 200 million Prime members. Okay, here's where she slipped and she didn't realize it. 200 million Prime members. So that means that less than half, guys, she just said up here, where'd you go, cursor? We're cresting towards 100 million customers having watched it. Surprise and delight 200 million Prime members. That's when she got there. They had 200 million Prime members. That means that there has been no growth since she's taken over. None whatsoever. That's not a good thing. That means less than half of Prime members have actually watched this show. So we went from 1/3 of the American population to now 1/3 of Amazon. Oh, you know what? I'll give you a half. To less than half, just under a half of Amazon Prime members actually watching the show. So that is probably closer to maybe a sixth of the American population. So that means now if you walk up to a group of 6 people in America, maybe one of them has watched this show, right? Have a good night, Arcasul. Thanks for stopping by. So I don't even realize if she knows what she said right there. But basically, they just admitted that they have not seen any growth and that less than half of their current Prime members have actually viewed this show. That's a problem. We're a responsible business unit. Okay, whatever you say. And we just try things we believe in. Oh, so we believe in misandry and patently evil fans or patently evil people who have an issue with you trashing something that they love and that has been beloved for decades. That is a man's life work. That is the foundation of literally all modern fantasy genre. Is that what we believe in? That's what we believe in? Crapping on legacies? That's cool. The only thing we know for sure is that hits are elusive and data is imperfect. Hits are not elusive. They're not elusive. Oh my God. How is this woman in charge? I said it when I did my nostalgic nirvana of The Mummy. Good guy, bad guy, actual stakes. Good guy kills the bad guy, saves the girl, saves the world. There you go. There you go. There's your formula. It's not elusive. Data isn't imperfect. People love happy endings. People love happy endings. They love a hero who has to struggle and overcomes hardships and is able to, as you said earlier, bring light to the world, bring light to the situation, to find a way to overcome the darkness. And again, happy endings. Oh, and respecting the lore. That's a big thing too. If you don't take risks, you will definitely not be right a lot of the time. Okay. Crapping on Tolkien's legacy is not what I would define as taking a risk. I would call that dumb business decisions. That's what that is. So we are a company that works hard not to be risk averse. I thought you just said that you were a responsible company. Most responsible companies are very risk averse. They weigh the cost benefit ratio. They break everything down to ensure that this isn't going to, I don't know, fundamentally destroy their business and their operations. Which one is it? Like, pick a lane, yo. Pick a lane. Top Amazon Studios series since 2018. Jack Ryan, The Boys. Oh, there's Reacher. Couldn't make it up here, but it made it down here in the credits. Wheel of Time. Upload. The Summer I Turned Pretty. Source Amazon. Yep. That's cool. I've seen the numbers for these things. The only one that I believe is this one, and I wonder how much it hurt them to have to put that on there. So I'm confused. Like, how do they have 3 top series? Like, why isn't it just why isn't it here's 2018s, 2019s, 2020s, 2021s, and 2022s? 18, 19, and 20 and 21 all only have one title. Is it because Reacher is actually your best performing series and you didn't want to admit it? So you threw in the other two, and you didn't want to just put Rings of Power and Reacher, because then that would mean that Reacher, which was far lower of a budget, is on par with or surpasses Rings of Power. So we had to throw in this other one that I have never even heard of, The Summer That I Turned Pretty. I can't even. I don't know who's in charge, but it needs to. It's clearly like if Salky is actually in charge, it's gonna crash and burn. So we went from Galadriel being very different in Lord of the Rings and Rings of Power, and her simply being a glorified Santa's helper, stay-at-home mythical elf queen who checks off the list of what the Fellowship wants for Christmas, to the biggest issue has been fixed. You can all take a sigh of relief because now there's no more issues with Galadriel at all. Yeah, okay. Also, why does she look so haggard here? Like, why is Celeborn looking better? I know the answer, but like, I mean, seriously, what is going on? Remember, this show is more than mere TV series. This is going to revolutionize how we watch television. It blows my mind. It went from $1 billion price tag to, as we saw in the title, $700 million, right? And then it dropped all the way to $450 million. So what exactly are we, what is the actual cost of this? Because in this article alone, we have 2 different price tags given. And the rumor that's been going around has been for a long time that Amazon is going to spend a total of $1 billion on this project. So if we go back just a few months even, this isn't even a few months ago. Here we go. Forbes says Amazon's Rings of Power certainly looks like $1 billion at least. They go into last night, Amazon premiered the first 2 episodes of its too big to fail fantasy epic, Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power. Budget estimates for the first season range between $750 million and $1 billion, the most anyone has ever spent on TV production. So that's not even in line with what this article, because we went from 700 million to 450 million. So what's the actual price tag on this? See what I mean? Like, we can't actually get a solid answer. The amount of non-answering that occurs in this article and with Amazon as a whole tells you that something is off. It tells you that they actually cannot give you a direct answer, because then they could get called to the carpet. They'll get in trouble with shareholders if they lie. And I fundamentally disagree with Forbes. I don't think that this looks like $1 billion anything. The good news is you can see every dollar spent in the show itself. No, you can't. You actually can't. It looks cheap. There was better CGI and effects 20 years ago. I saw that This is nothing new. This is nothing revolutionary. This isn't anything like what they promised. And again, if this show was actually as successful and actually as popular as they claim, they wouldn't need all of these shill articles running cover for them at all. And then this article made me laugh. This title made me laugh. International the news. I don't know who this is. Like I have no idea what this website is. But this made me laugh. Why Amazon analyst fell asleep watching The Rings of Power. And then it says right here, Amazon shelled out $1 billion for The Rings of Power. So somebody's lying somewhere. Somebody's lying. Amazon's Prime Video billion-dollar project, Rings of Power, left Amazon's analyst fell asleep from the first few episodes as per Insider. We fell asleep during our first viewings of episode 1, 3, and 4 and have not watched episode 5 yet due to a combination of not enjoying the first 4 episodes and a busy schedule, Fort, an analyst at D.A. Davidson, said. Fort explained to investors he was optimistic initially about the fantasy series, however, got bearish as far as the show spanned. Nearly 1 month after its September 1 launch and 5 episodes in on an 8-episode season, the audience response, as measured by Rotten Tomatoes, is far worse than we initially expected, as suggested by critics' warm reception, and is not improving as we had initially anticipated. So, what that says is they thought this was going to be good. It wasn't. They fell asleep watching it and have not revisited it. The audience response has been negative and hasn't improved. But didn't she just say, guys, remember, this is the head of Amazon Studios. We anticipate huge turnout and people are coming to a fever pitch. They're the strongest in the season. We can't wait to get more info on how the audience breaks down. What? So Amazon isn't sure what the audience thinks, how the audience feels, or who's watching this, but the analysts do? Think about that, guys. Somebody's lying. The analysts further quantified the risks to Amazon if the show didn't get up to the mark. If we work off Amazon's reported figures of 25 million viewers for the launch and an audience of 200 million Prime members who engage with Prime Video, we come up with the following: 12.5% penetration or 87.5% lack of interest. There you go. Someone else is doing math. It's not just me. If we marry the audience score, then we get the following: 9.5 million viewers liked it, 38% of 25 million, suggesting 4.75% penetration, 95.25% did not like it and or are not interested in it. He added in the research note, so as much as 95.2% of Prime members may not be happy about paying $20 more per year for Prime because of Amazon's content spending, including Lord of the Rings, the analyst added. Oh yeah, by the way, because they're not getting more Prime memberships, your Prime membership cost is going to go up because of this investment. Now, granted, like I said, I don't know anything about this particular website. I don't know anything about this international the news. But if they are pulling from Insider, guys, Amazon's in trouble. Amazon is in big trouble in all the worst ways. Can't wait to get more info. Based on the info, the audience response is far worse than initially expected and is not improving as they had anticipated it would. Like, that's not good, guys. We canceled our Prime. You're not the only one that has done that, from what I've heard, Midnight Mike. So that's where we're sitting, guys. We have analysts falling asleep. We have a studio head that doesn't know how the audience breaks down, has admitted that less than half of their Prime membership subscribers have actually watched this, that barely 1% of the global audience has watched this. And if you walked up to roughly a group of 6 people, perhaps one of them has watched this show. That's where we're sitting. The math does not lie. You can call me whatever you want. You can say that I'm reaching. You can say that I'm desperate. You can say that I'm just a hater. You can say that I don't understand or that I'm jealous or I'm gaslighting. Whatever you have to do to help make yourself feel better, you go right on ahead and say it. I'm just going to let the math speak for itself. I'm just going to let the facts of business and economics speak for themselves. You do not ditch real estate. Here is why companies like Amazon and them don't ditch real estate, because it's a sign of weakness, because everybody knows that real estate, land doesn't depreciate. The building on it might depreciate, or the what you're using it for might depreciate, but the land itself will only appreciate, right? So when you give up property like that, it's a sign of weakness. Just so everybody is aware. That's business, that they teach that in business 101. If you have to shrink your physical assets, your property, it is usually the sign of something very wrong. So they can paint it up, like I said, they can paint up their call centers closing however they wish, however they want. Say that, oh, well, it's entirely possible that like people just prefer working remote now because of the pandemic. People don't want to go back to work in an office building. People don't want to do that. And so rather than having a standard and holding those people to it, we're just going to give them what they want. We're going to let people work from home. This is going to be great because it shows that companies evolve, and this is going to be so beneficial for so many. Paint it up however you see fit. Whatever you need to make the shareholders buy it. But I'm telling you right now, the rules of business do not change. If you're getting rid of assets like property, it's a sign of weakness. It always is. Those are just simple facts. So I really appreciate everybody stopping by today. Thank you so much for being here. I know that it was a little bit late, and I went a little bit longer than I was planning. I was only going to go for about an hour and 15, but we went about an hour and 45. So thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you guys keep that stuff in mind. Like when you see all of these titles and you see all of these articles coming out, and they're talking about 100 million viewers and we've got so much success, and this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and it's so inventive, and it's the reimagination is incredible. Guys, you need to remember $100 million or 100 million sounds incredible, but they haven't actually reached 100 million. They're actually below that number, and that means that less than half of their Prime membership subs have actually viewed this show, and only a third, if we break it down, that is equivalent to less than a third of the United States population, and this is a global audience. Less than 1% of the world, or less than to view what was supposed to be a global phenomenon that was accessible for all people. That is what Amazon touted this thing as. So when you put it in that perspective and you use their own words against them and you recognize the issues that have come up and the fact that all of these shill articles are making this up as they go and can't keep a straight line with anything, and are just dishing out whatever they can to throw up shields as fast as possible, whether or not it contradicts what they said 3 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, 6 days ago, right? They're having to do this for a reason. They're having to scramble for a reason. They're covering their asses for a reason. And it's because this show is not successful. It's because they are losing their butts on this. But they can't admit that. They can't say something like that. Otherwise, they're already that is how you sink your stock price faster than a rock that looks down. Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. Hang in there. Just find things that you enjoy. Buy physical media. Go watch Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. It still holds up to this day. It is absolutely incredible. Go read the books. Go find your escapism elsewhere because this isn't it. If you like it, you know what? Good for you. That's on you. But as a Tolkien fan, as a Tolkien lover, as someone who genuinely appreciates the brilliance and genius that this man poured into creating this world and setting up the foundations for fantasy, I cannot. I don't care how much you would pay me or what you would promise me. I can't give this show an overall good review regarding anything. So I hope all of you have a fantastic night. Thank you. You guys truly humble me. I appreciate every single one of you. God bless. Godspeed. Much love. Good night.